Good night to everyone. Good night. Just getting started here. I see some early postings in the comments already. Square 4 and Annette Wood. Good night to you. Um, we're just getting started. Tonight we'll be having Mr. Watson Juke from Trinidad and Tobago joining us this evening. Welcome to Alternate Views. Um, just want to give some others a chance to sign on. Um, as you know, I am Kimar Stewart, and I'll be your host this afternoon as we seek to address the issues out there. As you know, Alternate Views is the name of my publication, my book publication. Here you see it, Barbados' Economic Road to Republic. We wrote this publication. This was published just after the general election in Barbados happening. Where the book was published around February 2022. And since then, we've continued to express our views in various forums and to continue to get the message out there. You know that we are uh, partnering hand in hand with Stewart and Perkins Caribbean, which I am a part of. Um, and we focus on contributing economic opinions much to the betterment of the country and the region and, if need be, the entire globe. Um, so, welcome to you all this afternoon. Um, Again, I am Kimar Stewart. Um, Good afternoon to Marcia Weeks and the entire Marcia Weeks show, and those persons who tune in religiously to the Marcia Weeks show whenever it's on. Good night to you. So again, we'll be having Mr. Watson Juke this afternoon. So thank you again for tuning in to Alternate Views. Yet another Thursday. Um, Happy to have you. I look forward to your engagement. We're gonna have some upfront conversation this afternoon surrounding the Barbados economy, how it impacts you. If you have any regional viewers online, we also discuss economies from throughout the Caribbean as well because we are so interconnected in this day and age that we have to focus also on what's happening throughout the region in terms of various economic uh, projects and activity. So again, we be having Mr. Watson Juke. He's from Tobago. Um, I don't know how many of you may be familiar with Mr. Juke. Um, Mr. Juke is the political leader of the PDP in Tobago, the small island Tobago. You know, when we hear Trinidad, we usually think about mainland Trinidad, but there's not so much a focus on Tobago. But tonight, on alternate views, we'll be focusing specifically on Tobago. And then if Mr. Juke wants to go into any specifics about Trinidad, he's very welcome to do so. Uh, we are looking forward to your comments this afternoon. You know, your comments made the evening. Sure, Mr. Juke will take some comments this afternoon. Um, so, yes, I know we always have a very interesting discussion. Don't forget to send in your queries, your questions, your comments. Good night to you, Gal Biz. Um, let's give some more viewers a chance to come on to the stream. Um, I see Mr. Juke commenting here. Um, yes. Good night to Ray in Austin. Good night to Pete Ray. Thank you for tuning in to Alternate Views yet another Thursday. Um, as you know, Alternate Views stem from being able to express another opinion other than what is the mainstream. We focus heavily on research, providing analysis on public policy, Barbados. So, we have these grand pronouncements by the politicians, um, but there's no real logical step by step explanation as to how you could understand and as to where you could benefit as a citizen of a country from the various economic plans that are out there by the government. So, what alternate views did or is doing is to assist uh, you, the average man out there, in understanding the various policy announcements by the Barbados government, by Caribbean governments, by world governments. Um, Ever so often, you hear our leaders speak about uh, being impacted by the things like the war in Ukraine and the blockages of the Red Sea and various events in America and the UK. And we often wonder, what does that have to do with us down here? Why can't we just focus on home, on Barbados? So, what alternate views is here to do is to explain how interconnected the world is in this day and age, and how various events across the globe impact on your everyday living, down from when you go into the supermarket to buy your groceries, when you go to pay your utilities, light, water, Wi-Fi. Uh, how do these things impact your ability to live? Are you moving up the corporate ladder? Uh, are you getting promotions? Are you getting wage increases? Um, are you a part of a trade union? How does the what's the current circumstances as a representation from the trade unions? How does it impact you? Does it benefit you? Does it not benefit you? Alternative Views is here to give you, the viewers, a platform uh, as to the general public can understand what you're feeling, what you're experiencing in the general economy. We all pay taxes, we all pay duties, and we also wonder, where is my tax? Where is money going? Um, do we live in societies that are corruption free? Do we continue to see unfair contracts issued by government? Do we continue to see discrimination as it relates to how contracts are issued? Do we see transparency? Do we see accountability as to how contracts are issued? Um, do we see transparency as it relates to how jobs are created in the public sector? Right. So we unpack all of these issues, but tonight we give way to Mr. Juke. I see him getting himself warmed up in the back, so we just give him some time to get himself fully prepared, and then he could signal when he's ready that he can jump in here. But this is all about you guys, the viewers. So continue to like and share alternate views. Um, we're here for you, to here to answer all your questions. So let me just say good night to some of the commenters. Square 4 again, good night to you. Good night to Annette Wood. Biz, good night to you once more. We're in Austin, good night to you, sir. Um, Pete Big, uh, good evening, everyone. Uh, Pastor, dear Pastor. I like that name. Yeah, good evening to you. Um, don't forget to like and share the live. The more of you we have on here, the better the show is tonight. Uh, hoping tonight we can get Marcia to join us later on, that she can have some discussions with Mr. Chu. Marcia being originating from Jamaica, will definitely give a good perspective on this conversation. And in the comments, we have Mr. Paul Gibson. Mr. Paul Gibson would have contested the last general election in Barbados um, for the Democratic Labour Party. He's also a pharmacist. He was previously on the Marcia Week show. He gave an excellent contribution on the health sector in Barbados. So, good evening to you, Mr. Paul Gibson. Great to have you on, sir. Hope that you share the live to some of your comrades. Encourage them to come on this evening, as we have the man himself on this evening, Mr. Watson Solomon Juke. No, I will not do so much as to I will let him introduce himself and say all he wants about the man who carries the name Mr. Watson Solomon Juke. So good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Brother Paul. Can I call you Brother Paul or Brother Gibson? Which one you like? Paul Gibson. And good evening to Barbados and viewers around the Caribbean. I am very delighted to be on this show, my first time doing a show of this sort. And I'm Watson Solomon Duke. I like to introduce myself in my country. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, as saying to people, I am Watson Solomon Duke. That's a local parlance. Say I'm Watson Solomon Duke. That name is a name that is reflective of someone who is resilient, someone who has tenacity, someone who is relentless, someone who is passionate, someone who has a genuine concern about people. And I understand what it is to lose as I understand what it is to win. I understand what it is to wait, and I also understand what it is to get something going with immediacy, so to speak. So I spent a lot of years in the trade union movement in Trinidad, leading the largest trade union in the entire Caribbean at the point in time, meaning it is the amount of different personnel we lead. In some countries, the public service union only deal with civil servants. We deal with the civil servants and those that belong to the local government workers, represent those workers. We would say represent 80,000 workers in the country. That's when I was the president. I got locked up many times, but many times I scored big for the workers, many times. Um, Very successful leader, very, very successful. I spent 13 years at the head and then I resigned to become a full-time politician because I wanted to focus politics of the country. I somehow believe that it's difficult to have diverging views as a trade union and as a politician. So I focus on the politics where I'm at right now. I've been able to defeat one of the strongest party in the entire Caribbean called the People's National Movement. They have been around long since 1956. They are around. They have been along long. They are the ones who got us independence, and they have occupied office for well over 30 something years, I should say, to put it nicely. They've been in office for a very, very long time. And I've been able to defeat them on the island of Tobago that has a type of local government or devolved power. It is called the Tobago House of Assembly that is headed by a chief secretary. I could go on and on about myself, but it's best that we just get straight on into the discussion. But I'm a people's person, and I expect to get a lot of questions tonight from you all, so you will know more about me, and I will understand more about Barbados and the people of the Caribbean who are tuned to this show. Yes, my brother.
Yes, sir. Very well. Well, thanks for the brief introduction, Mr. Juke. I must say that I follow you on social media, as you
Thank
know,
you.
the social media
Thank you.
makes us
Thank you.
very interconnected. I often admire your drive as a political leader who stem from the trade union movement to go on
Yes,
to bring what is described as a grassroots movement
that's right.
um, from the ground up to winning the entire House of Assembly, well, almost the entire House of Assembly
Yes, yes. We won all the seats. They stole back one.
in
All
Tobago.
50 seats we won, and they couldn't take it, so they paid some money and got back one.
Yeah.
Not to me. Don't know who.
Yes. But that is an interesting phenomenon because you know the Caribbean is dominated by the two-party system.
That's
In,
right.
in Barbados, we have the Barbados Labour Party and the Democratic Labour Party. I know in Trinidad, you have the People's National Movement and the United National Congress.
That's right.
You know, in Jamaica, there's the People's National Party and the GLP, um, and we could go on.
On and on, yes.
So to break that whole of the two-party system, I think
Yeah.
that that's a great achievement for some, well, through the entire region really, in these Westminster type political systems that we have.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm sure the audience would like to hear a little bit more about that experience before we jump in to the discussion though.
But any questions you wish to ask, I'm willing to answer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
So you ask the
but
questions.
as for audience, Mr. Duke is inviting you to ask some questions. Um, so throw your questions. But in the meantime, Mr. Duke, we really invited you on the show because this is Economic Thursdays.
Yeah.
You are the visionary behind a plan to develop Tobago.
That's right.
Right? So I saw it's called the City of Roxomborough.
That's right. Jeff
Right?
Roxborough.
And the City of Roxomborough, you brought some ideas to develop Tobago, but give the viewers a chance to know from you. Um, explain Tobago. What really is the country of Tobago? Who really is the country of Tobago? Because as was said earlier on the show, when we hear about Trinidad and Tobago, but
Yeah.
we only hear about Trinidad and Marshall Montano and you
Yes.
know, but we really don't know about
Someone is
Tobago.
asking the question, what's the population of Tobago? Tobago is average about 65,000 persons. Most of the people of the diaspora would have left the country, as in most Caribbean countries. There is very little to do in Tobago. It is one of the more underdeveloped islands of itself. It's not primitive, but it's just not developed in keeping with the expectations of the people. All right. And Tobago, unlike any other Caribbean island, is a ward of Trinidad, meaning it's a dependent on Trinidad. The British would have fashioned that in that manner, which is a wicked act and which is an act of slavery of itself. They would have made us a ward of Trinidad, but Tobago wasn't always a ward. From 1769, Tobago had a Tobago House of Assembly, and it was under the old representative system, meaning the elected persons, based on the plantocracy system, had to be 21 years and older, you own land, etc., male could vote, etc. They elected those persons to the House of Assembly. And that House of Assembly had its own constitution for Tobago. They were able to impose tax. They had the Chief Justice. Tobago was an island that was independent of any other island. There were times when, for administration purposes, a governor or superintendent governor would have managed the island of Tobago along with Grenada and other places, but that's only for administrative purposes. The laws of Tobago was always laws that says Tobago is an island governed by a constitution. That constitution was repealed in 1876 by the British after there was an uprising in Tobago in my home village called Roxborough, where the workers rose up against the plantocracy system and they overthrew the entire island for 5 days. It started on May 1st and ended on May 5th, 1876. To quell the riot, they had to send for a naval fleet at Barbados, strange enough. The naval fleet, British naval fleet was stationed at Barbados and they sent for a fleet. The fleet then came to Tobago and used aggression and violence to suppress it. That was in May. Sometime later on in the year, maybe September, October, they would have repealed the constitution and imposed crown colony rule in Tobago. And well, they imposed crown colony rule in Tobago via the Trinidad system. So we weren't even united to Trinidad as yet, but we had someone to go and sit and observe what was taking place on in Trinidad. You know what I mean? And they will make the decisions there basically. In 1889, Trinidad became a ward of Trinidad by legal documentation. And from that moment onwards, Trinidad treated us as their property and not as an island with a different history and an island with a different dream of its own. From that day onwards, there have been a fight between Tobago and Trinidad to get that dream back on track and to reclaim our history, our culture, etc. So there's no war between Trinidad and Tobago, but there's just a misunderstanding. We know where we came from, right? The average person in Trinidad doesn't understand the relationship and where it came from. Even today, 130 plus years later, we are not an equal partner in the Trinidad and Tobago relationship. We are a ward. And so they continue to treat us as if we are dogs, so to speak. You know what I mean? When you're playing football, you might give one person from Tobago a seat. We're not an equal partner. So my fight as a politician is for the constitution to the amendment, which they're doing right now, to reflect Tobago's right to self-determination. Self-determination is a cardinal principle rooted in international law that gives the peoples, meaning the people who have been in subjugation by a colonial power, so the people of Tobago, the right to determine among themselves without any external influence their own political status, which means they can either choose to be an independent nation, be integrated with another country, as with Trinidad and Tobago, or they can be an association, Eastern Caribbean Islands, as the case may be, that share a dollar.
So what is
Right.
your choice? What is your choice?
At this time, we want to be an equal partner with Trinidad, but an equal partner meaning we must be an island with the right to self-determination, as Trinidad has the right to self-determination. Because of that right Trinidad has and continue to have, they were able to move from independence in 1962. They took that right and became independent. And in 1976, they became a republic. Barbados also have that right, the right to self-determination. Hence, recently, maybe a year or two back, your prime minister would have moved to become a republic. They have that right, you know? And all the Caribbean countries have that right. Jamaica has it, Grenada has it, St. Vincent has it, but Tobago does not have that right. Tobago is not conquered by Trinidad. Tobago was never attached to Trinidad. It's two totally separated people. We talk different, our culture is different. The mannerism of the black male in Tobago is different from the mannerism of the black male in Trinidad. We enjoy the relationship of being with Trinidad, but we do not enjoy being a ward. Being a ward means you are a person applying to be a partner in the Trinidad and Tobago relationship. Whereas if we have self determination, then when we enter the relationship, we enter there as fully Tobago, meaning Tobago cannot be imposed upon by Trinidad because we are independent island that have chosen to be in an integrated relationship with Trinidad. So it could be Trinidad and Tobago United, Trinidad and Tobago, whatever you want to call it. But there'll be mutual respect. I hope you understand it to a point. We have 2 seats in Tobago. Trinidad has 39. That's for central government, right? Those 2 seats could never match that 39 under the ward system because we are subjected to their power. However, when we have self determination, Tobago 2 seats will be equal to the 39 seats in Trinidad because it's 2 islands agreeing on laws that they wish to implement. And those laws must take into consideration the concerns of Tobago for Tobagonians. Someone asked a
Mm,
question, what's the size of Tobago? The population is about 65 persons to 100 and I think 16 square miles.
Like when you say 2 seats, could you be
Yeah,
a
two
little more?
seats is Tobago East and Tobago West. That's for central government. Those will go with the 39 seats in Trinidad to form 41 seats. There are 41 seats in our
Mhm.
national parliament. In the Tobago House of Assembly, which is locked into Tobago landmass only, there are 15, we call them electoral districts of 15 seats. That is for the form of devolved power.
Oh.
Someone
So
news. It's not news. It's real facts. You know what I mean? In the sense that we are not equal and was never sister islands. It's one. It's a mother with a child. That's what we
yeah,
are, child in the relationship, and we don't want it. We abhor it, and we will fight against it.
yeah, but this is news to us here in Barbados, though, Mr. Ju. We, to be honest,
Yeah,
I don't think you may understand the extent to the statement that's being made that when we hear about Trinidad and Tobago, we really only hear about Trinidad and Barbados. Hey, we go to schools, we go to primary school, secondary school. Our education systems are quite similar because we
hmm,
do have a lot of exchange students in our secondary schools from like Trinidad. Not many, but some, and Jamaica as well, right?
very
But
nice.
we are not educated really about Tobago. Um, we really didn't even know Tobago was. We just thought that Tobago was maybe like you said, Trinidad is mainly the Queen's land, the mainland, and then people could go off to Tobago, but we didn't even know Tobago had like structured government
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah. And
was
it's totally
functioning,
different.
right?
Trinidad,
Right,
different, different, different.
right.
I'm a black male in Tobago, and the average black male in Tobago is different from the average black male in Trinidad because of the cultural way they grew up. You know, the way the family is structured in Tobago is different from the family in Trinidad.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, interesting dynamic, Watson. So let me ask you this. So being in Tobagonian politics, right? Um, I saw the president of Trinidad saying that she was open to giving Tobago independence.
Well, that's
Um,
not for the president to decide.
well, we just
Yeah, but go ahead.
reporting. Yeah,
Go ahead.
we want to report what we you
Yes,
know. You could clarify anything you
of
wish
course.
in the statement. Right? They were open to the idea of independence for Tobago. I saw also the political figures from Tobago are very much supportive of the idea as well. So in the future, Tobago, what would that look like? Will you have like a Tobagonian prime minister, a Tobagonian president? Um, you definitely would know run your own government, so set your own budgets, your own rules, your own laws,
Yeah.
your own customs, and then you bring your own development, really like develop your airport and whatever you could afford to do within your budgets, you would do. But what would that look like in the future, Tobago?
we have to get two things clarified. One, the president of our country is like the president of Barbados, ceremonial president. The power is in the prime minister. It's still a Westminster system. However, the president in Dominica and the president of Guyana, they are president with powers. The executive presidents can make decisions, etc. Right? Um, what the Tobago House of Assembly is talking about and what the government in Trinidad is talking about is autonomy. They want to give Tobago autonomy. The PDP, under my watch as political leader, and the people of Tobago, we do not want autonomy. I want to make it absolutely clear. We do not want what Trinidad is offering. They could take it and give dog that. We don't want that. And what the Tobago House of Assembly is giving, they could take it and give dog that. We don't want that. That is autonomy. Autonomy simply means more rights. We're giving it a little more rights. And so what Trinidad has thrown out, and the House of Assembly, led by my colleague Fali Augustine, seems to be gobbling it up, is that we're going to give you 7% of the national budget. Right now, they're getting 4.03% of Trinidad's budget. And so they say, if you accept this bill, which is inducements, we're going to give you 7.0% of the budget. And then it says to them that we're going to give you the ability to make your own laws. Right now, we can make laws, but the laws are very difficult to even be approved, because when you make an assembly law in the Tobago House of Assembly, it must then go to the cabinet, and the cabinet must then do the white paper, the green paper, as the case may be, and then present it to the House to be debated in Trinidad. And they will decide if they want to accept that as a Tobago law or not. So from 1980 to now, not one assembly law has been made. There may have been one attempt or two attempts to have an assembly law made, and nothing came out of it. And so my friends are asking for a little more rights. We don't want no little more rights. We want all our rights. And the international courts well respect the right of the island of Tobago to self-determine. You know why? We were enslaved. We came from Africa, all Tobagonians. No Indians came to Tobago. We came from Africa, our ancestors. And when they came, at the point when they were decolonizing those colonies, we were made a ward to Trinidad. And Trinidad never thought to ask us what we want to do. Something similar would have happened between Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. However, the Cayman Islands was not given to Jamaica as a ward. The Cayman Islands was simply governed by Jamaica for expediency, because both of them were British territories. And so the House of Assembly in the Cayman Islands had to get the Jamaica governor to actually play the role of president on the island, in a sense, to speak that way. All right. And so when Jamaica in 63 were looking for independence, they went and they asked Cayman Islands, we're going for independence. What sayest thou? Cayman Islands said, no, we're not going for no independence with you. Go by yourself. They went, they got it. Cayman Islands remain with the British. Today, the Cayman Islands dollar is 80-something cents to $1. So when we ask ourselves the question, self-determination, that right to not just hear the conversation, but to actively participate in the conversation. We were never allowed to participate in the conversation of becoming a ward to Trinidad. That was just a brutal slave act done by the British to Tobago because of the rebellion. Go to Trinidad, become a ward. Yeah, we reject that. So now we are ward to Trinidad. From then to now, we still a ward. Trinidad is saying to us, all right, we want to remove the status of our ward, but they want to continue treating us as a ward. As long as you do not have the right to self-determination, which is the right to choose your political status, the right to develop among your own people without any external influence, your economy, social and cultural development, as long as you have those rights, then you have self-determination. If you don't have those rights, you have no self-determination. You are a ward. And so We are saying we demand those wars. We need to grow our own economy. What if we want to buy gold from West Africa and refine it? We have to ask Trinidad for that permission. If we want to get any money, we have to put our hands on our finger and say, could we get some money, please, to do this? If Trinidad say no, it's no. When Jamaica, Barbados, Guyana, any place borrow money, they borrow money on the open market based on their credit ratings and what they can pay back. Tobago doesn't have any credit ratings because Tobago has no organs that says we have an economy that is going. Trinidad said to us what to do and what not to do, and they deliberately stifle and manipulate the economy in Tobago. Tobago has what we call blue limestone. It is one of the hardest stones in the world, can only be found in two places apart from Tobago, which is Dominican Republic and Canada. That stone is being sought after all over the world. It's all over Tobago, that blue stone, right? Tobago also is rich in gas, as you would know. Some of the gases are out in that sea or territory so far as space around us, landmass, etc. is very big. The flying fish that you all love, we have a lot of flying fish in our waters too. So Tobago can do things apart from those natural things. We have the gas, we have oil in our waters that we can monetize. With 60,000 people, come on, we can do well. But Trinidad must respect the fact that we have the right to decide our political status. We have the right to decide our economy, our cultural and social development. They cannot decide that for us. And this is a fight that will lead us to the next election next year, for which I am more than prepared, and the people are more than prepared to say to those sellout persons, we are not part of that, and we don't want to be part of that. We want all our rights, and we demand our rights now. You can imagine that? Light bills are determined by the votes in Trinidad, not Tobago. They are now brought on something called property tax. The lands in Tobago hardly have proper title because it's generation upon generation, and we don't keep land titles. They all goes to Trinidad, and some people are stealing our lands down there. So what's happening right now in Tobago is that they have imposed a land tax on us. If Tobagonians want to say no to that, they can't say no because we are a ward and they could sneeze and we catch the cold. We are saying enough of that stupidness. I am Watson Solomon Duke, the leader of the strongest political party, because we're the only party to have beaten the PNM in Trinidad and Tobago. No other party has cut the PNM ass. We have beaten, we have flogged the PNM, we have defeated them beyond the shadow of a doubt. I'm public enemy number one, of course, but we have no regards for them. I came from the trade union world. I'm a fighter, and I expect to fight my way out, die with my boots on. But this battle in Tobago will not be done easily. You see, once they put autonomy, which is a granting of little more rights, into the constitution, the fate of Tobagonians are sealed for life. Trinidad determines how much scholarships are granted to Tobago, who play on the national side. They decide every single thing for Tobago. Right now, Tobago doesn't even have a cruise ship complex. When you look at the port in Tobago, there's only one pier, one jetty, one berthing station, call it whatever. There's only one. So if we have a cruise ship inside that, the boat that brings cargo to Tobago cannot come. That's the kind of malice we have here. If let me use some local language. If a person gets licked down on the road, you understand what I mean, right? Bounced down on the road. And that person is critical, they have to fly him to Trinidad. Tobago Hospital cannot deal with that. Even though we have a hospital across here.
So what is the infrastructure like in Tobago?
Well, we have infrastructure, but we don't have the wherewithal to manage. We have hospital, we have a theater, we have all of this kind of stuff. We have doctors of competence across here. But if they do not give you the permission to handle certain things, then I just can't handle it. The X-ray machine at the hospital is not working. The MRI machine is not working. Nothing is working. You have to now take a boat and go to Trinidad. If I want to buy a car, I have to take a boat and go to Trinidad. If I want your ID card has to come from Trinidad. You want the glasses like this, it has to go to Trinidad and come back up. That's the kind of madness. The money that we spend here comes from Trinidad.
Which currency do you spend?
The TT dollars. It comes from Trinidad. So the central bank will then send it up on the boat, on the plane, comes across, the banks will then have it being distributed to them. That's how money comes in.
And
If
you,
if the airfare shuts down, if the airline shuts down and the boat shuts down, that's it. There's no food, there's nothing going on here. We're dead men. So we want to break free from um that type of slavery that the British have forced us in, and Trinidad has basically lorded themselves over us. We are tired of that. And this election, I can guarantee you, this election next year is about self-determination, nothing else. We are not even discussing autonomy. We don't want no more rights. Don't tell us how much money you're going to give us. Tell us how much money we are capable of borrowing, and we want as much as our ability to pay back and our strategic plans align themselves with.
uh,
Let me take some
well,
questions.
yeah, well, we have some interesting comments coming up here in the live, Mr. Juke. So far, we have 118 persons on.
Very
So
good,
we
very good.
want to,
It's nice tonight, man.
yes, we want to encourage those persons to like the page, share the stream as well. Encourage your friends to come on. We have Watson Juke from Tobago, Sweet Island of Tobago. So far, he's been sharing a very interesting history lesson on Tobago. I am being educated tonight. I could tell that the audience is being educated here as well, based off the comments. We have Gail Bates here saying that our education is really lacking with regards to real Caribbean history. We have Marcia Weeks, who's a very good lady. She has her show as well. Maybe you should go on her show as well at some point in time, Watson. She is saying that we thought Tobago was a part of Trinidad, being the same island for all intents and purposes, which is the same point I raised you earlier.
It is not.
Uh,
Totally
um,
different. Totally different
yeah,
people. We think different. But we are one country. We love Trinidad. My wife is from Trinidad. And I spent years in Trinidad working with Trinidad, and we love Trinidad. Trinidad, we have a love relationship among the people. But the politics is one that places Tobago in a very subjective and low class position award. Imagine we went for to become an independent nation and nothing was said of Tobago. We just attached to them as a baby. So if mommy enter the car, the baby come along too. The
yeah.
baby was never asked.
Well, so what was the difference between Trinidad and Tobago and Antigua and Barbuda?
It's different. Tobago is a ward. Antigua and Barbuda, they know ward. That may be two islands they conquered one time. You
Hmm.
see, the British didn't conquer Tobago in that type of dominant way. It changed hands about 34 times. Tobago changed hands from the British, the Dutch, the Colanders, the French, and a number of other people. Spaniard, Tobago changed hands a lot of times. The Americans even tried to come here one time, right?
Mm.
We have a very long history of changing hands. It was the island fought after. That's well recorded in the history. Tobago is beautiful. We have lands, we have rivers, we have hills, it's a beautiful place. It's not the best. We can't say the best island in the Caribbean. We love to see that of our country, but it's not really the best. All Caribbean countries are beautiful and all are similar, one with the other. All Caribbean people are very similar, also too. So we're not so queer and different from Trinidad people. We love our people in Trinidad, but come on, man. Oh God, man. Tobago need to be an island where we decide for ourselves what water we want to drink, right? What food we want to eat. Let Tobago decide as a country. And if someone asks the question, if we get self determination, if we're going to leave Trinidad, no. We will now reorganize the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago as adult to adult, as opposed to adult to child. That's what they're doing to us. So, for instance, all the gas in our waters, Trinidad claim it. They're exploiting it, they're sending it down the road, and are saying that is their gas, their oil, because we only have 6 miles of administrative responsibility where the sea is concerned. 6 miles. You can imagine that?
Hmm.
6 miles. Yeah. So when there was a fishing, when our prime minister went to Barbados to discuss with your prime minister about fishing, about fish and fishermen coming from Barbados to Tobago and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff, and about
Natural
oil,
gas.
oil and gas, exploring that jointly. He went on his own. He went as the Prime Minister of Trinidad, with Tobago being a ward.
So
Tobago has no right being called with Trinidad,
if he
because
had to choose, based off the current structure of the parliament, if
yeah,
he had to choose, or well, not had to choose, but if there was a constitutionally appointed person that he had to travel with from Tobago, who would it be?
we would have had to be the Chief Secretary, right? But even in that relationship, the Chief Secretary will be a nothing, a non-entity, because he's a ward. You see, a ward doesn't get to say anything, and he could shut up any Chief Secretary because he is the Prime Minister. You understand where I'm coming from? See,
Yes.
the very position of a ward takes away the basic rights of a human being with a brain and a human being who can make a decision. You must await until they give you rights. And that's what autonomy is, the granting of rights, the granting of privileges. We do not want any autonomy. And I'm going to launch a campaign this year. It's going to lead into elections. And we're going to mobilize all of Tobago to a powerful force, an aggressive force, to send the message throughout all of Tobago and Trinidad. We are not satisfied with the granting of rights. Give us all our rights and let us decide what we want to do.
Well, let me ask you this: how? Because I heard you make some inferences on the show about you don't want like little rates, and then you mentioned something about a sellout or a selling note. So my mind is wondering, what do you mean essentially? I'm going to lead it somewhere now.
Mhm.
Whereas you have political parties in mainland Trinidad, which is you have both sides, which is the PNM, I believe, and the UNC, right? Obviously, these parties would see Tobago as a battleground in terms of strengthening their political
Yeah,
um, thing. So obviously, parties will want to try to collaborate with the party in power in Tobago or the persons in power in Tobago,
yeah.
right? So how's the relationship between the political parties on the mainland um, and Tobago, and does that have anything to do with the comments that you inferred earlier?
Um, the political parties in Trinidad are not celebrating Tobago very much. The PNM has found a way to come across here, and they spent 21 years here. We were the ones to remove them from power and remove them completely. They will be trying to come back next year, but I intend to keep them out completely because we are different people. This is not some old time politics. We are the generation X, we are the millennials, we are the ones, not that I am, but and I speak for those persons, and I understand them well. So we have moved away from this old time politics where you are in control and you are massa and we are your servants or your subjects. That's not so. The country has to develop in one shot. And people want what they want it now. So the PNM, they are out of Tobago. We have one voice here among the 14 other voices in the House of Assembly. You have one voice. The UNC, they have been thrown out a long time. They don't come back. So they try to manipulate and work with people. But I could speak for myself, right? I am not working with no UNC. I'm not working with anybody. I'm working for the people of Tobago. This is why I hold this controversial position of saying that I'm not going to sell out. Persons who may have who are working with either party will have to follow suit because they will always see Tobago as ward. I don't want anyone to see us as a ward. They must see us as a full island with rights. There is no island in the Caribbean as big as Tobago that is a ward or an appendage to any other island. None. Let me tell you something. Tobago is so big that right outside of Tobago, by a beach called Englishman Bay, there is a sunken island as big as the size of Tobago. When they were scanning for oil, they found the sunken island there with hills and valleys and that type of stuff, about 300 feet under the sand. Yeah. So Tobago is not fully discovered as yet, so to speak, right? And again, we're not saying we're the best in the Caribbean, but we are among the best in the Caribbean. And we want to share in that. We want to develop our natural resources without Trinidad saying, yeah, go ahead. We don't want to say, could I please? Away with that nonsense. We are in 2024. We're not taking that from any government. What the PDP, my party, has promised the people is a political revolution. So if you find me talking strong, because we believe in the political revolution of our people. The status quo must change. And the people who have been asking to be governed must be governed in a way that they accept and they agree to. In other words, follow the mandate. The thing that got you inside, you must follow that. Because that's the thing people voted for. Yeah?
Yes. Well, interesting you would say that. But we have quite a few persons on the stream
I
now.
have just about 10 more minutes, so I guess we have to come back at next time.
Yeah.
Someone asked a question about a strategic plan. You want me to take a shot at that?
Yeah, well, just give me 1 second. I just want to welcome the additional persons that would have signed on. For those persons who are not tuning on, we have Mr. Watson Juke on straight from Tobago. He's giving us the facts as they come, as they are. He's really representing for Tobago on tonight, and he's definitely given us a lot to think about in terms of Tobago gaining its independence. So good night to you all. Square for Paul is Marcia Weeks, Pete Ray, Gail Biz again, Maxine McLean, our former Minister of Foreign Affairs. She's on the stream, so good night to you, Maxine McLean, um, Rameem, Rachel Thornhill, Jujot Waldron. Good night to you. So you may take the question here now, Mr. Juke, because we have quite a few more questions here. No time is not with us,
Yes.
but I want you to engage with the audience tonight. So you could go ahead and take that one.
Right. So thank you very much for asking that question, Square Four. Do you have any strategic plans for Tobago if you become independent? Yes, we have strategic plans. The plans that we always put forward in Tobago are plans that will take Tobago beyond that begging stage of award. For example, and I want to go broad and then narrow in a bit. One of the problems we have in the Caribbean among leaders is that they have very little vision of what development is. Very little vision of what development is. You see, throughout the Caribbean, tourists are having a difficult challenge as to what separates us from each other, apart from our speech. Everywhere you go in the Caribbean is sand, beach, or sea. All is nice. Little waterfall here and there, one or two hotels, people selling coconut water, fudge, ben fried fish. You know what I mean? Fish to eat. That's what the Caribbean offer. Some people could be satisfied with that, but if we want to see people coming here by the millions, we have to ask ourselves what will attract them. And so, one of the things I would have developed is what is called the city of Roxborough. Roxborough is the second town of Tobago. It's really a shanty town. But we want to develop the city of Roxborough. The city of Roxborough would create about 4 islands out in the sea. We will create a highway from the furthest end of Tobago to the next end of Tobago, super highway that will go through the rainforest without disturbing the rainforest. And that will allow for ease of transportation. Tobago, like many Caribbean islands, have many twists and turns, many corners, hills and valleys, and it makes people sick sometimes who are traveling. So, in order to allow for ease of travel, we have to now create roads that are built by us and not built by the colonial masters. So, the superhighway will then break down into other secondary roads, etc., and allow people ease of travel, access to lands for planting and development, etc. Tobago, the development plans consist of building another port in Tobago. We have one port which is used for the fast ferry and the cargo boat that comes to Tobago from Trinidad. That's how Trinidad sell us all of their goods. And we hardly have any goods to sell back. There's the Caribbean boats that come down, past Tobago straight, They go all the way to Trinidad. We must then go to Trinidad, collect the goods, and then come back up the road. Imagine that. The boats from Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, even Barbados, when they're coming down the Caribbean, they pass Tobago as a full bus. We want to stop that. We want to ensure that the Caribbean boats that are coming down could offload what they want to offload in Tobago and buy what they want to buy in Tobago. Trinidad is a separate place. There must be that level of healthy respect and economic opportunities for persons in Tobago and the Caribbean. We also want to do another airport in Tobago, right? Because we want to engage in what we call an air cargo. We believe the ship cargo is good, but we want to have an air cargo where we could actually transport things from foreign to Tobago and Tobago to South America and throughout the Caribbean. So we want to operate a cargo port for the airlines in Tobago. That's one of the PDP plans for Tobago's development. Insofar as the beach is concerned, some of the beaches will have to be resand. We will have to um, do some things to reduce coastal erosion, and sometimes it means that we have to build some kind of things to restrain the wave and wind from coming into our shores with that heavy force. And that will be up to the what we call the engineers, the marine engineers. They will have to look at those kind of things along with those who have specialties in that. But we have to reclaim back our island. We would like to also go more green and have a dual energy system. We have natural gas in Tobago, so we have the natural gas system that fuels our electricity, but we also have something like wave energy because we have the Atlantic Sea is very powerful out there. Barbados have it to go and explore wave energy, solar energy, wind energy, and these type of stuff. So Tobago can generate some income. More than that, we want to have one of the islands we're building out in the sea will be very Americanized or Europeanized because we recognize some persons because of the dollar can travel to Europe and America. So we want to bring a little America down as it is in Dubai. We want to put so on that side of Tobago, you're going to be driving as if you are in America, you know, which means drive on the other side of the road. And we're going to have some of the American boutiques here because we want to make Tobago a tax-free haven. Tax-free, tax-free. So we want to get persons coming down here, tax-free haven, right? And you're gonna pay people gonna pay tax in a different way, but not in like income tax, no yeah, income tax and the normal taxes that they would pay in
Yeah.
business.
Right. Mr. Joe, we may have to get you back on another time to go more in depth into the plan, but I wanted you to answer some additional queries from the audience,
Yeah.
if time allows. We have
Yep.
a
So it's
question.
about 5 minutes again, so we could do.
Yeah, we have a question here from our former Minister of Foreign Affairs for Barbados, Miss Maxine McLean, right here on the screen. She asks, "Can you share with the audience what political system/structure are you proposing for Tobago, and what do you expect to be your relationship with Trinidad going forward?"
Right. Well, we propose a system of integration. We will continue integrating with Trinidad, um, but we'll do so, as I said, as an independent country integrating with an independent country. So Trinidad does not have any power over us to dominate us and say to us, do this, do that. We would be an equal partner, and therefore it gives us power in the House of Assembly. For the first time, our 2 seats will be equal to the 39 seats in Trinidad because unless we vote for a bill, the bill has no dominion over Trinidad and Tobago. It has dominion in Trinidad, not Tobago, right? And so that's one of the things it's going to give us the integration with Trinidad. If that relationship goes sour and we feel it's not working out for us, we could activate our self-determination policy, or right, rather, self-determination right, and remove ourselves from Trinidad and say, Barbados, we want to join with you on these terms. When you're an independent country, you sit down and you determine the terms of engagement with the country you are going to be integrated with. We never sat down with Trinidad and determined our terms of engagement. It is the British who push us on Trinidad as a ward, and Trinidad continue to treat us as if we are paraplegic. And we don't want that. We don't want to. We reject that. And Trinidad knows that. We love the relationship, but we hate the bad treatment.
Mhm. Yeah, well, we have.
My wife is from Trinidad. We have nothing with Trinidad at all. I lived and I worked in Trinidad for many years. I serve the people there. And I have no problem with that, but I love justice more than I love office. Justice for the people of Tobago and justice for the people in Trinidad.
Yeah, but you have a good compliment here. To drop water saying, I love the philosophy of a political revolution.
Thank you.
Uh, Galvez is saying, Mr. Chu will have to come back, please. We have Pastor Dr. Ferdinand Nichols tuning in. He's one of the hosts on the Marcy Beach show as well. Very powerful man. Um, Rameem is saying, LOL, Watson, you hit the Caribbean Achilles heel on the head. Yeah. We have Akil Daly saying good night. Akil Daly is the former head of the National Peace Program. Um, to drop Waldron saying maybe a new Beijing government could adopt the philosophy of a revolution and building a Barbados that is truly
Yeah, we need that.
independent.
We need that revolution.
Mhm. Um, yeah, so we have time for maybe one more question for Mr.
All
Duke.
right.
So maybe one lucky person can send in a question that I can give. But it was really good to have you on tonight, Mr. Watson
Yes,
Duke.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, and I want to thank all the viewers. I mean, the question, the support is good, and all these distinguished guests you have. I mean, I enjoy just being in their company and sharing with them our story, the real story of Tobago, and how we perceive development. One of the things, as I wrap up, let me say that I dislike is Caribbean countries and leaders taking their dead time when people are eager for development. They want to under promise and over deliver. I'm saying no. Those were olden days. We are against that. The political revolution we're speaking about is one where your ambition is driven by the desires of the people. Yeah? The
Mhm.
population that you're governing must drive you to become a better government. And you must try to deliver things as soon as possible. Not promise, next 6 years, and say, yeah, make it in 5. No, no. Caribbean governments must stop stealing at the trough. We must start sending the money to the people to buy beds and buy medication, buy benches in school. Let's get our police looking good. Yeah?
Yeah. No, you said that. This is the last question we're going to give to you. Pete Ray is saying, once you gain your independence, do you have the human capital to build out the island? Are skilled
Yes.
and professional Tobagonians looking to return home to build the economy?
Yeah. We have a lot of persons from Tobago diaspora who are outside in Europe, all about the place in the World Bank, IMF. I mean, my daughter, she's in the IMF right now. So we have a lot of people outside that can come back home and build. A lot of
As
people who
an
are
economist?
yeah, as an economist, yeah. Some of the world-renowned economists are working here in Tobago. Also, in addition to that, we want to create a retirement village in Tobago. It's the PDP. We want to create a retirement village, the first of its kind, where we will encourage all persons from the Caribbean to come and retire. So we want all the brains from Barbados to come and retire. When they're tired, we want to be able to give people a passport. That's what I'm saying to you. When
Hmm.
when when I buy a home here, we must give you a passport under certain conditions because we want you to live here. We want you to be here and contribute to
So,
society.
so
So
you support
definitely,
citizenship by investment.
yeah. We want to support that and create our own foreign affairs rules. Not as what China want to give us. They want to tell us what to do. Look, we are Tobago. We have a different history. Let's share this fun fact. Tobago in 1769 had the old representative system, which means, I think, like Barbados, we had a two-tier system, a lower house and upper house. Trinidad was a crown colony rule up until 1961. You were crown colony rule. Trinidad did not have a bicameral system. They had a unicameral system up until 1961. All right. So Trinidad can't come and say to Tobago that all are too small. We knew about upper house and lower house. Tobago partook in the decision when this guy from France, the rebel leader, the short leader, name is again, just let me. Um, the from France, the short man from France for years now. Napoleon, when Napoleon
Napoleon. Right, right.
wanted to be emperor, I think, for life or something like that. That's in history books, you know. It's in the history books. It's in a diary written by one of the Englishmen who was here. We have the diary published, so the diary is here. He said that Tobago Self Assembly would have voted in that decision. At that time, if the French people had overthrown the British, and instead of changing it to Tobago Self Assembly, all they did was change the governor. And when the vote was taking place, because they never forced them and brutalized them and moved them, all of Tobago Self Assembly voted for Napoleon to be ruler for life.
Hmm.
Yeah, we have a place in Tobago called Corlan that came from the blacks right around the Black Sea there in Europe. Some person has invaded there, so we have a lot of history in Tobago. And I think that the more we speak as Caribbean people as this, is the more we understand each other and the more we can achieve the level of governance that we all are asking for. We believe that CARICOM should be more than a white elephant that people only use for political expediency. CARICOM should really become the bedrock of our civilization, where we push agenda changes in the European Union or African Union or United Nations, whatever. We must have our agenda set and not just following along and say, well, all right, we're going to say we're going to reduce carbon footprints. What is the carbon agenda? What is our agenda for the carbon people? Are we just following along? No, we must have an agenda. This is a political revolution. What is our agenda? What are we pushing? We are talking repatriation, but what repatriation is what? We only talking it to sound good for the masses, preaching to the grandstand. But none of us are seriously, actively pursuing repatriation. Or else we would have come together as CARICOM and sue the British people, take them to court. Anyway,
Hmm.
enough said. We have to end it here. You know, I mean, it was a great show. Thank you
Man,
very much.
I had such a brilliant evening, Mr. Juke. Man, the fire was in the house tonight. And I am
Thank you,
sure
man. Thank you.
the entire audience were pleased. We have some really good comments coming in for you. Heavy endorsements. So we want to thank
Thank you.
Mr. Watson Juke for coming in this evening. I really enjoyed speaking to Mr. Juke. Mr. Juke, as he said, is the political leader of the PDP in Trinidad and Tobago. Sorry, let me get that correct. Tobago. Mr. Juke's party defeated the big PNM um,
That's right.
in Tobago,
Wipe them out.
going on to take uh, to be in the party of the people's choice from just being a grassroots movement.
That's right.
Um, so he shared some very interesting perspectives on here. He gave us a history lesson on Tobago. He gave us a futuristic analysis on Tobago in terms of Tobago becoming an independent nation. He gave various solutions as to how they could go about that independence. He also gave his vision for independence, and also he gave a vision for the infrastructural development of Tobago, inclusive of airport, rural development, uh, battling natural disasters. So that is a man with a vision. Um, you heard him tonight. The audience again, Mr. Juke, is very, very, very pleased to have you.
Thank
We have
you.
people asking for you to come back again. We have persons saying that it was too short. Uh, we have someone here saying, elect this gentleman. We need greater collaboration with him. Somebody say, he will come to Tobago.
Certainly come, man. When you come, hit me up.
Yes. So there you have it. So I'll let you have your final word, Mr. Juke, because we have some discussions after this. But you're very well invited to come anytime. But over to you.
Well, I want to tell you thanks very much, Mr. Stewart. Brother Stewart, I want to tell you thanks very much for having me in the show. My first time I'm in the show. And I think we are one people. I mean, I really like to have a greater collaboration with you guys over there. We are one Caribbean people, and we should start that integration now. Not when we get into office and we get rich. We say, all right, you know what I mean? Mr. Duke is Prime Minister, or Stewart is Minister of National Security, or whatever the case may be. Let's talk. No, we can begin forging ties now and develop an agenda that will revolutionize the way people view the Caribbean. You know, and we have to make black people look good in the Caribbean because we are descendants of slave. All right, we have to reclaim our rights and let's do something, man, that stir up the world. Let's stir the world, not just be the victims and be passive. And if they say, "All right, we're going green," everybody say, "Yeah, we're going green." We are not dummies. We have a voice. We must say what is the Caribbean agenda, what we want to see on the in the Caribbean for our people. So thank you very much. With this, I'll definitely come back sometime in March and we could do a next show again.
Yeah. Before you go, we have somebody here asking for some flying fish, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. We could get them, man. I see them every day in Scarborough flying around. I have plenty here now, you know. I
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
someone said the flying fish should leave, but will not come down to Tobago. Just run and just pursue them to
Mhm.
come down here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
thank you, Mr. Juke.
It's a
You're
pleasure.
welcome to come on anytime.
Definitely.
Great to have you. And on behalf of all of the loyal viewers, we had 162 persons so far. Thank you on behalf of those persons and see you
Thank
again
you, sir.
soon.
Yeah, man. Love Barbados people, man. Heart, love. Take care.
Yeah. Good night.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes. So there you had it, Mr. Watson Juke. I had an excellent show tonight with Mr. Watson Juke. So just if you had an excellent show too, just show me in the comments. How did Mr. Juke put himself over to you? Were you inspired by Watson Juke? Um, what did you learn from Watson Juke? Um, is Watson Juke sounding like leadership material at Tobago? Does he have a vision? Does he sound like a traditional Barbadian politician? I want to know from you, the audience. What do you think about the session with Mr. Juke? Um, as we move on, though, tonight I am taking calls tonight. So if you want to be featured on the show tonight, um, just send me a WhatsApp at 846-9912, and I'll be taking you onto the live stream. So if you want to get onto the live stream tonight, just send me a WhatsApp at 846-9912, and I would allow you onto the live stream, so we could have some more discussion about some of what Watson said, and we also be segueing into our discussion. But I certainly learned a lot tonight from Mr. Juke's contribution. I really did not know that the political structure of Trinidad and Tobago was such that Trinidad treated Tobago like a pawn, really. I always thought that Trinidad was mainland Trinidad and Tobago was just an offshoot. I really didn't understand the structural uh, aspects of Tobago, that it had its own parliament with ministers and cabinet, but they really did not have the independence whatsoever to make any decisions whatsoever. So, with the total control from Trinidad over Tobago, Mr. Ju is arguing that that needs to be no more. That Tobago certainly has the resources to become an independent nation to govern itself. Um, I think that where Tobago is right now is interesting. It gives me a mirror of when Barbados was battling for independence from Britain. I know we recently had the Republic ceremony, but what did a Republic really do for Barbados? Um, did it really allow us to did it really allow us to create real more independence from England, or do we now have new colonial masters, as was suggested by the British Parliament, that Barbados has gone from Little London now to Little Beijing or Little China? What really on the new republican system do we gain, or what will we gain moving forward? So, what would Tobago gain from becoming independent from Trinidad? Uh, I sure through Mr. Duke's contribution, we saw uh, some benefits to Tobago taking its independence from Trinidad. I saw some of the politicians in mainland Trinidad suggesting that they were very supportive of Tobago having that level of independence. However, there's also the political aspect of it, because there are competing political forces which may have other agendas. Um, so, if Mr. Ju is successful, we look forward to uh, a new state in the Caribbean called the state of Tobago. And if all goes well, maybe Mr. Ju will be the leader of that. But again, nice discussion with him. But tonight, I am taking contributions from the audience. So if you want to come on the screen tonight, if you want to be on the show, just send me a WhatsApp at 846-9912 and make your contribution. I will send you the link and you can make your contribution uh, on the screen that the entire audience may see you. So 846-9912. Just send me a WhatsApp and I'll send you the link, and I will uh, patch you onto the screen that the entire audience can see. Um, so yeah, so let me just read some of the comments here from the audience, because we're really here to serve your alternate views. Tonight we had a very good discussion. Miss AOK said a very eye-opening discussion. Um, ADG is saying good night. Uh, we had somebody saying well spoken, Mr. Ju. Tehran nurse is saying possible development with European intervention from its own mines. Uh, Emerson Bob saying no, she would even no, she would corrupt even more. Sandine Clark is saying thanks, Mr. Stewart. This sounds like self-determination. Uh, Marvin Marius is saying true visionaries like Mr. Duke, we are reconnecting with our great past. Square Four is saying uh, in the making of the West Indies, Napoleon Bonaparte was down, and there a French general who had a revolution becoming emperor of France. Remy is saying whether we have or not is certainly none of England's business. Emerson Bob is saying he was a refreshing voice as far as politicians in the region is concerned. So there's definitely high praise for Mr. Watson Juke. So Mr. Juke, sir, don't make yourself a stranger. It was very good to have you on tonight. So please come again soon. So again, I am inviting you on uh, to the live stream. Don't be shy. Don't be a stranger. The show is all about you. I know some persons have been asking me some questions, so I'm inviting any of you who want to come on to the live stream to send me a message on WhatsApp 846-9912, and I'll send you the live stream that you can come on and to have your query issued live. But what I wanted to speak to Barbadians about is the financial sector of this country as it relates to digitalization of the financial sector in Barbados. Because I know right now we are having some general discussions. We know we have a new Minister of Science and Technology, and we are heading along the line of digital identification and the implementation of digital systems. Now, in alternate views, I would have written, sorry, a chapter on financial sector inclusion, and I would have spoken to you a bit about the move to basically go digital and what will it mean for Barbados and other Caribbean countries from a purely economic perspective um, when we uh, go into the world of science and technology and digitalization. Now, I'm sure you would have heard the deputy prime minister saying that the transport board, which is under her ministry, would have been the pilot project for digital payments or digital payment system. So the pensioners would be the first persons um, who would test out this project. Now, in countries like Ghana and in countries like Rwanda, and if you remember Paul Kagame coming to Barbados, I wrote a paper for a class called Economic Development or Development Economics, sorry, and it spoke to Rwanda and how Rwanda proceeded with digital trust. And there's this lever called the digital inclusion or financial digital inclusion. Right? What happened in Rwanda when the government sought to proceed with implementing the digital payment system on the transport board? What it created was financial exclusion. Right? So the financial exclusion came in the form of persons who, one, were not au fait with using technology, two, persons who just couldn't understand the technology, um, elderly persons, um, younger persons, because the people being in debt impacts. Because there's something called a social credit score. So when you have a poor social credit score, you then are restricted from having access to specific uh, digital services. Right. So when you create systems like the same national database, and again, I'm speaking from a purely economic perspective, when you create these type of systems, where you try to monitor spending, and you set up the systems through the transport boarding system, and you ask the person's journeying on the bus to swipe um, the digital card, right? Um, what you then create really in society are persons, or you create an unwillingness, a persons who will not use the technology, right? Persons will also opt to use more private means of uh, transportation, and it created more persons in society who were excluded from the system, and therefore the profits of the said organizations plummeted, and it therefore created, as opposed to creating efficiency in the system, it actually created what you call deficiencies in the system. So the further the government went in trying to implement the technology, the same digital payment system and the transport system in Rwanda, profits continued to decrease and decrease and decrease because less persons were taking the bus. And the bus fares were also being increased gradually. So therefore the transport organization then plummeted. And that is how you get public institutions going on to full scale privatization. Right? So in Barbados, you already know that the transport board already is fully privatized, as announced in the budget by the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister. So government is seeking to run a pilot project to implement digital payment system on a system that they already privatized. So you see, essentially, the government is still increasing, not even call it subsidies, but the government is still increasing investment into businesses that they claim that they're privatizing, that they say they privatize the transport board, right? But still, you're seeking to invest in the same transport system by trying to implement the digital payment system on the transport system after you have privatized it, right? So it defeated the whole purpose of trying to change the transport board from central government funded to now being funded by point of sale, which would be bus fare or savings in terms of digitization and cutting out the use of paper and restructuring in terms of management and sizing down departments, right? So that's basically the conundrum that Barbados is in right now as it relates to the digitization of the Barbados economy, right? But I wanted to read something to you really about the rationale for the further digitization of the Barbados economy, right? The rationale being used internationally and on a global level is that the creation of an investment culture in Barbados is significantly restrained by a lack of foreign exchange available to undertake transactions for the big businesses to send money across borders, right? So you will know that like Massey and the big conglomerates, even like Williams Industries, even like Sephora, like Goddard Enterprises, the big conglomerates in Barbados usually, and like the big banks, the big insurance firms, any company that really again does transactions at a high level and uses foreign exchange to send overseas. We often wonder how come companies like the same banking system, um, RBTT and Republic Bank and Massey and all the other Trinidadian companies that immigrated, we often wonder how they could come into Barbados, but Barbadian companies were not expanding outward to do the same thing, although we have the capital here to do it, right? Persons wondered why that was. Now, the problem really is access to foreign exchange is the problem, right? Barbados does not produce anything that earns a significant foreign exchange, right? And we have to borrow the foreign exchange constantly. So, the rationale for developing the digital payment system is the need for investment to come in the country without so many regulations, without so much red tape, without it being so costly, right? So this is why they're pushing the digital drive, right? So it says here the scarcity of foreign exchange available to big business players is hampering the expansion of Barbadian brands across borders, and the private sector must be an engine of earned foreign exchange capacity for their own development. So in Barbados, right, you often hear the big conglomerates crying out. We even see big businesses leaving the country because they're crying out that they're not getting the foreign exchange to do what they want and what they have to do, right? We even saw recently that um, Burger King, the ownership structure changed in Burger King, which was domiciled in Barbados, right? So remember we had something called M Money in Barbados, which was purchased by a company called Bit. And the M Money pilot was set up in different commercial stores around Barbados. And M Money was pushing this digital currency, right? and it was infrastructure set up by the Central Bank of Barbados because it was the government's policy to turn Barbados in what we call a fintech hub, or fintech meaning financial technology, right? So a part of the financial technology drive, um, the money, which was the beginner stages of the digitization of the Barbados dollar, to trade the Barbadian dollar on a what you call a digital index or digital market, because there are many other digital currencies in the world, like what you call Ripple or XP, and even like some of these bitcoins and stuff. So people trade digital currencies online, right? So the move here is to put the Barbadian dollar on the digital platform, because the digital platform has the possibility to earn Barbados significant sums of investment at a much cheaper uh, rate, and without as much regulations, and it is not controlled by the commercial banks, or is not regulated by the central bank per se. However, the central banks and Barbados' central bank started to develop their own digital currency because they want to be in on the do. And more than likely, the central bank is going to become the overall regulator for digital currencies, as the central bank will, or well, they develop a digital currency already. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, which houses the OECS countries, the same company BIT, which was domiciled in Barbados, BIT actually developed two, right? BIT actually developed two digital currencies for the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, right? And it says here that Barbados and the firm BIT created the first private digital currency, which was money. BIT recently helped Nigeria establish the e-naira, and the first digital central bank currency in Africa, right? So BIT, which was domiciled in Barbados, which was spearheaded by Gabriel Abed, and at one point in time, former Senator Rhoda Adams was the CEO. Um, they developed the e-naira in Nigeria, which was the first central bank digital currency in Africa, right? So that specific currency was basically a version of the national currency in that location, right? So they're pushing this thing called blockchain technology, right? Which has some advantages, right? If used correctly, governments can help its citizens. If used incorrectly, governments can oppress its citizens, right? But I will, and of course we have a person wanting to get in on the stream, so I just want to finish off this last point here quickly. Right, so I said I was speaking about the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, um, which has countries like St. Kitts, St. Lucia, all of the countries who trade the EC currency. As you know, Barbados does not trade EC. We have our own dollar, right? So all of the countries who trade EC currencies, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank launched something called a DXCD currency on March the 12th, 2019, right? And the D in that represents digital currency. So it was essentially a digital Eastern Caribbean dollar, right? So the EC dollar has already been digitized by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and Barbados started to digitize its own dollar through the same money pilot, right? So we are seeing here, along with the creation of the metaverse, that Barbados is opening up itself through the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation, again, purely from an economic perspective, to receive large sums of investment through digital currencies as central bank digital currencies, which involves the implementation of the Trident Digital ID as a means to access the digital exchange. However, I want to welcome on Mr. Akil. daily on to the live. So welcome Akil and good
Hey,
evening.
good night.
Yeah, so welcome on to Alternate Views.
Hey, good
This
night.
evening,
Thanks for having me. I
yeah,
apologize for my poor lighting, but I was not scheduled to come on, so I was not prepared.
yes. But again, this evening we're just taking persons who are interested in coming on. We're answering any questions. We have the audience tuned in. So this is remember this is not scripted anyway. This is purely organic. So we're just going to ask you to share whatever's on your mind tonight. If you have any questions, go right ahead.
Yes, and you would have just sparked my interest with your communication just now on the digitization of the currency and the move towards trading with digital currency. I just want to find out from you because I didn't really get your thoughts on it. You gave me a good monologue on the initiative and what Barbados is doing, but I really, as a someone training in economics, I would like to know what do you think about the move, and do you think is the advantageous move for the country at this time? Do you like the way it is being implemented? What are your thoughts, Mr. Stewart?
Well, digitization for me is a very big topic. Depending on what level you're looking at it, um, digitization at the governmental level in terms of digitizing certain processes of government, reducing duplication, speeding up, eliminating. I'm all for that, right? Um, Sometimes the just simple things where you could send an email as opposed to printing paper, having digital records of documents to reduce some of these old paper backlogs. Sometimes you have a send a file from department files get lost. So I'm all for cleaning up government at that level in terms of digitizing records, right? I support that. Um, However, my concern for the use of digital currency now is the level of digital penetration in Barbados. And while every child or person may have a cell phone, and I'm sure trading digital currencies is a skill that can be learned, um, I think before we seek to bring it on a large governmental level, there should be some training as to what persons can expect as it relates to trading a digital currency, in the everyday lives. So I grew up on money, you grew up on money. You grew up putting $1 for a snack from the snack lady at school, or when we get bigger adults, you gotta go and pay bills with hard cash, hard money. The world has since sped up a little bit. Then it went to checks. Then it went to swipe cards at the bank, and swipe cards are really actually digital money already, right? So we do digital transactions to some extent already in our everyday lives, but I support some level of digital transactions already in terms of credit card use, debit card use, but I don't support um, a digital. How do I put it? I don't necessarily support the, from a governmental level the government want to take the whole society cashless and turn it over to a digital or merely digital transactions because I worried about the people being left behind.
Okay, if I may respond. No, I heard your concern, and I now understand your perspective on the issue. And like you, I do commend the government for its move to digitization of the service, the governmental service. I think I recently had experience in a government department, and although the facility was there for stuff to be done digitally, I can tell you that a problem, I can foresee a problem occurring whereby certain staff members are resistant to that change and have become so accustomed to writing on files that they would prefer to continue. So I think that is where the stumbling block could occur. But on the other front, where you would have issued some concern for the digitization of currency, and you would have articulated just now that you do not support the government moving to a cashless society. Now, I do caution you um, for making that statement because I have not heard anyone in the government so far state that the intention was to move Barbados cashless. I do, however,
Well, the Prime
understand
Minister,
the initiative to be that it is creating a mechanism where one currently does not exist. Case in point, the new industry that we are trying to set up using marijuana, for instance, we have found stumbling blocks for investment because the banking system does not want to go that route. So I think that finding new mechanisms like digital transactions would allow Barbados to attract investment where the banking system currently is a stumbling block. So I would, as a future economist, I would rather you look at it from that perspective instead of being more alarmist and going to the extreme of cashless, because I don't think that's the intention right away. I recently would have traveled to London and to Toronto, and I was amazed actually how many establishments were cashless. And I was even struck at one establishment, many of them are cashless, but they will still take cash if someone insists on using cash. But I did come across a few that didn't take cash at all. So eventually, as years go by, you never know. That may be a move that the country may make eventually, but I do not think that we are anywhere close to that frontier. So please don't muddy up the waters with that thought.
well, just one correction. The Prime Minister did say that she wants to take Barbados to a cashless society by 2030. It's public record.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
hear that, so my apologies. I didn't hear that statement at all.
yeah, yeah. We even have Sean Cool saying that Prime Minister did make a statement, and she did.
But but
Um,
Mr. but Mr. Stewart, do know, as you're a man that I believe have traveled as well. So if you leave these shores, you will see that a lot of the world has gone cashless in a lot of instances. Not saying that places don't take cash, but they have facilities whereby you can use digital transactions. You can make digital transactions. And I think if we want to be part of this world, be part of this financial system, we got to catch up, and we have to make facilities in Barbados where persons can be cashless as well. So I want to commend the government on this move. I know a lot of people is a new frontier, so a lot of people may be scared. A lot of people have a lot of questions, but I think we should give the government some time, let them roll it out. I believe there would be a lot of public education coming. So let's just give them some time.
yeah. Well, as it relates to we have some comments here. Wait.
And I do welcome the fact that you allowed me the opportunity to give an alternate view.
Well, that's what the show is here for. So we welcome all contributions, but um, remember this is purely from, or the conversation happening here is purely from mainly from the economic side, not really venturing into the political space.
Correct.
Um, we see the Prime Minister's office as a space where policy, governmental policy, economic policy, social policy is announced from. Um, while we may wear political hat in some other instances, alternative views is just giving analysis of the policy announcements made from the chief policymaker of the country. Um, what we realize also now is that policy announcements are not only made, or it's not only being made by decisions happening locally. Um, More serious decisions are being made for Caribbean economies, not necessarily in the Caribbean. Um, so we have a person in the comments asking, um, saying, "Caller, you should understand that the digital ID is moving in stages. Just listen to the World Economic Forum presentation agenda and see the gradual change." Um, I don't know if you watched videos on the World Economic Forum, but I watched some of those videos as well, and there seems to be quite a bit of conversation at the World Economic Forum surrounding the same move to go digital. Right? I know Barbados, and I know the public service is the area that you understand quite a bit, and I know that Barbados is seeking to digitize again its public service and move the country at large to a digital ID. So, what benefits do you see really for the country at large and the government really from moving
But as,
forward with
as I
such a
would have
plan?
mentioned before, Mrs. Stewart, the world, as you know, is largely trading digitally. So if we want to be a part of this, if we want to capitalize and gain some revenue in these new trading arrangements, we also have to facilitate the ability for us to do so. So I think it's timely that the government are taking these steps so that we will not be left behind or playing catch up. I think is a move that we cannot not make. So I think it's more a question of the public education that is needed so there would not be so much fear and there will not be so much fear mongering by opposition forces because this is a move that is inevitable. Whether which party is in power, I believe this move will have to be made. So let's not politicize it. Let us educate the public because, as you know, a lot of us are technologically savvy. A large section of the population have cell phones in their hands every day. So if we can only teach them how to use that same technology to access their make their financial transactions, I think that that's the way to go.
Well, interesting perspective. So what do you think about the concerns people may have about the storage of data, right?
I think that's a legitimate concern. Um, and as you can see, storage of your personal information is a concern that people all over the world have. But you also know that there are ways that you can protect data. So I rest assured that the government will spare no expense in making sure we have the best safeguards to protect the public's data. But as I said, the fear mongering, that is a tactic that can easily be used in this instance when you are moving to a new frontier where people are not necessarily educated on the topic. It's easy for persons to fearmonger and create these illusions that the country can come to end or the economy is going to suffer because of these changes. When truth and fact is that the world going this direction and we will be left behind if we don't. So I think that's a better way for shows like alternate views and persons like yourself that are versed in economics, I think it would be better usage of time educating the public on the way to use the technology that is coming.
Well, I understand you. Um, we have persons with legitimate concerns about the use of this futuristic technology. Remember, we have persons who the art school system teaches us rote memorization. We're not really trained to handle the technology. So,
I beg to differ. I beg to differ, man. My
hold on.
son does take up my phone and he does know how to do more than me. And I never teach him. So I beg to differ. I
But,
think instead of looking at the glass half empty, we gotta look at the glass
but,
half full.
but
People can
hold on.
catch on. We just need to teach them, provide facilities where people can learn easily, where the access to this training is easily accessible. And I don't think we can have a problem.
Right. What? Well, that's your I. That's your son, no, right? I speaking of. To be honest with you, people just call me daily. Sometimes just to even write an email or to open a word document and write something for them. So I'm saying to you that the realistically, there are a lot of people out there that are dunce when it comes to using technology. So
Right, that's why the traditional way of doing trade will still exist. So those persons that will take a little longer to catch on will continue to spend money as they are have accustomed. But I still think it's our responsibility to teach them, so that they will not be left behind. So instead of spreading fear, I think we should spread education.
we have some persons in the comments asking some serious questions of you. But tonight we're just taking calls tonight. If you want to be featured on the show, just send me a WhatsApp 846-9912, and I'll provide you a link and you could come on to the live stream as well. Because it's about hearing your concerns and giving you an opportunity to share here as well. Um,
But Kimar, if you don't mind entertaining me on a topic that you had tonight, with the move by Mr. Juke, he would have pronounced a move to make Tobago independent. What are your thoughts on that?
well, if I am honest, with you I do not know much about Tobago's affairs in that, so I can't make a fair assessment or give a fair assessment of it. Based on what Mr. Juke is saying, um, he gives a good rationale for Tobago being independent. If Tobago have the resources and the people and the skill, they already have structures, parliamentary structures in place. Um, Let them go right ahead. I actually saw the president of Trinidad in itself saying that they will support Tobago going independent. So I would definitely support Tobago being a new state of CARICOM, if that is the will of the people of Tobago. Yeah. What says you?
I share your sentiments. I welcome the addition of an additional CARICOM member state, if that is the will of the people. Um, but Mr. Duke, he did say a lot tonight. It was refreshing to hear his views, his political views. I am sorry I sent a question, but I'm sorry you weren't able to ask how he was going to finance a lot of this development, because my ears pricked when I heard him say he wants Tobago to be a tax-free haven. So you know me, and you are economist, so I guess your mind pricked as well. So if you gonna be tax free, he also said you collecting no income tax. How are you going to finance this development? There gonna be a high um, value added tax. What? How are you going to be collecting money into the coffers of government? That's a question that I really would have wanted Mr. Duke to answer, But all in all, I was interested in his comments.
Yeah, well, I am sure that when Mr. Juke come back on the show, he'll be open to entertain
I
any
see a
question.
question that you have here from for Square. I saw my name in it, so it pricked my attention. But I don't really understand what for Square is asking. He said, but Mr. Daly, if the government don't train or talk with the country, you think that alternative views should do it. It's unfortunate that he would have started his question with a false narrative, because I do hear the government quite often talking to the country. As a matter of fact, if I tune into Facebook now, I believe a parish speak. The government is right now talking to the country in St. Lucie and the persons that live to the north of the island. So I think it's unfortunate that you misrepresent the government, but I do think that alternate views is a forum where persons like myself, persons like yourself, Foursquare, persons like Mr. Stewart can speak on issues that are happening in this country where we live. And we should not only depend on government to speak on issues. We have a brain and we have a voice, and we should use it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Daly, for your contribution.
Thanks for having me.
Um, yes, it was
And
excellent
you
to
must
hear.
invite me a time to sit next to you and present an alternate view. I did enjoy our rapport tonight.
Yes, well, me too. And thank you for coming on.
Good night.
Yeah, we'll hear from you soon. Yes, well, thank you for Akil to reaching out and coming on. Um, we have time to accept another person who wants to come on and share a perspective. We don't have to have your camera on. Remember, you can speak with just your microphone. Just reach out if you want to come on and hear. Well, give your alternate view. Tonight we had Mr. Watson Juke. Um, Very good discussion with Mr. Juke. I greatly enjoyed it. Then we heard from Akil Dailies trying to no, but for his perspective as to the digital trust that Barbados is on. We had some persons who agree with him. We had some persons who disagreed with him. But that is what the show is all about. Um, but as was said earlier, we stand firm on the point that it was the Prime Minister's announcement that Barbados is supposed to go completely cashless eventually. And they spoke about the exclusion of persons. And right now, we're even experiencing exclusion in terms of the banking system. Uh, there's so many persons who do not have basic bank accounts, who don't have basic credit union accounts. We have persons who we have persons who still don't even have a blue ID. Furthermore, digital ID. So I'm saying that there will be persons who are left behind in the any governments, not criticizing any specific government, but any government who seeks to move forward with the implementation of the digital drive in their countries, they're going to leave people behind. The younger people in the country tend to be more innovative with technology, yes, but it cannot be only about streamlining processes. Yes, my number is 846-9912. Just send me a WhatsApp and I will send you the link and you can come right on to the stream. Yes. So as I was saying about the financial technology, hey, persons don't even have bank accounts. Hey, so getting an ID, if you don't have a bank account, um, eventually when government policy says that only payments from government will only happen through the account that is on the digital ID. What then are you going to do? Right? Then you are forced now to go and get a bank account, which should be kept at a bank. Again, and we do not have any local banks in Barbados. We have banks that are owned by Canada and Trinidad. Right? We do not have a local bank. I recently realized that Sagicor opened what we call a digital bank, right? And I'm going to try to get that on the screen that you can see. But Sagicor in Barbados opened a bank, a digital bank in Barbados, right? Called e-banking. So we are seeing these new innovative financial technologies coming up, right? And I only realized this recently that Sagicor um, was now into digital banking and banking services, right? So we are seeing where the government, and we have to ask when, not if, but when the government says that they'll only be paying um, government funds or government monies uh, through the digital ID. And again, as far as I know, there's only one digital bank in Barbados that's owned by Sagicor, which means that all of these which means that all of these accounts will have to be more than likely to be stored by uh, Sagicor, uh, which is basically a guarantee of revenue for a specific uh, business. So again, we are saying that we are moving digital, but we end back up in the same problem where specific companies, monopolies, or basically, no, not really monopoly, but it's the only type. You end back in a situation where this specific company or company is guaranteed revenue because you're trying to control too much of the economy. You're trying to control too much of the spending. So then you're forced to create channels, like, again, through a specific bank to try to store revenue. One, you guaranteeing that company has a specific level of revenue. And if you, all of these specific, so the government know through this new system, remember, started from the ID, is going to pick the winners and they're going to guarantee winners and ensure that they're losers because the new digital infrastructure will be controlled by government and government will now choose specifically based off the new yeah, we have app. Our topic says Sagicor by app is very user friendly. Yeah. But you see, um, there you go. Digital banking, new and innovative services, um, in this day and age. But I just wanted to give you uh, a futuristic expert thinking in terms of thinking on what the new economy is going to be like on the push for digitization, how far it's going to stretch, and what the new environment is going to look like. So you might not have any new brick and mortar banks. You might see some banks in Barbados closing down, and these banks seeking to take on the new outlook of a digital bank, and the government offering more digital banking licenses and digital insurance services and digital capital services, digital legal services, right? And through your national registration number is how you'll be identified in the new digital economy of Barbados. So eventually, all persons are going to be encouraged to sign over onto the new digital economy. Again, we have a metaverse. So at the governmental level, the government will also be doing shopping for services in the digital world. And at the ground level, which is us, the consumers, uh, our cards are mainly going to be used for most transactions, even to access uh, governmental services. And through the bank account that we will have, which is more likely going to be registered at a digital bank, um, that is going to be the future of banking. So, but maybe we'll do a show on the future of digital banking. I don't know if we may get some person from Sagicor to come on and explain what the whole digital banking system is about. Um, but we'll see how it goes. But tonight we've come to the end of our show. We're going to take an early one tonight, but it was very good to have you on this evening. I have a very interesting show coming up next week. Um, every week we try to do something that's new and innovative. So we'll be having a discussion next week. I'm trying to get the flyer here for you. We'll be having a show next week. Sorry, with Mr. Jamal Slocum. He's the president of the Barbados Film and Television Association. So we'll be seeking to understand next week on Alternate Views, which is the 1st of February. Um, what can film and television do for the Barbados economy? What can film and television do for the Caribbean region? So tune in next week to hear some valuable insights from Mr. Jamal Slocum. As you know, Mr. Slocum is also a Barbadian artist, recording artist, vocalist. So we'll be having Mr. Slocum on next week to hear from him. What can film and television do for the Barbados economy? Um, we're definitely going to speak about the Hush movie, Hush 1 and Hush 2, which were produced by Marcia Weeks herself. We're going to speak about the Arrow Barrow movie. We're going to discuss quite a bit of Marcia Weeks' work, as she did a lot in the film and television space for Barbados. So you could tune in next week to hear some of that. Hopefully, we can get Marcia on next week to join that conversation and to give some valuable inputs along with Mr. Slocum next week. So next week, 7 p.m. again, alternate views. I had a very good discussion tonight with you. So next week, 7 o'clock, Mr. Jamal Slocum. So thank you again, viewers, my alternate viewers. I had a really good show this evening with Mr. Watson Ju. Thank you for your interaction. Thank you for your questions. Tune into the Marcia Week show tomorrow, usual time 7 p.m. And I'll see you next week. So, alternate views. Good night, everyone. Thank you once again.